As a security engineer, your job is to harden your organization's Microsoft Azure tenant to minimize security risk, prevent unauthorized access, and enforce compliance. Since Azure is a cloud-based environment, it is exposed to external threats, identity-based attacks, misconfigurations, and insider risk. Your goal is to apply security best practices to protect identities, enforce access controls, secure workloads, and monitor for threats within the Azure tenant. Let's understand the various components that you should focus on as soon as you are designated security engineer for the tenant. First thing, you can access the Entra Admin Center by visiting entra.microsoft.com. And this is the best way if you are dealing with Azure or Microsoft 365 tenants. If your organization is using Microsoft Entra ID free license, your security hardening options are limited compared to P1 or P2 licenses. However, this does not mean you should leave your tenant vulnerable. You still have essential security controls that you must enable immediately to reduce risk. As soon as you recognize that your tenant has a free Entra ID license, your first priority should be enabling security defaults. Why? Because security defaults enforce multi-factor authentication for all users and reduce the risk of credential theft. Also, security defaults blocks legacy authentication, which is a common attack vector. And security defaults assist to enhance security baselines without additional configurations. How do you enable security defaults for the tenant having Entra ID free license? In the Microsoft Entra Admin Center, navigate to Overview, then to Properties. Scroll down to Manage Security Defaults at the bottom of the page. Click Manage Security Defaults and select Enable Recommended from the drop-down list in the top right corner. That's it. With that, your tenant will have baseline security protections enabled. Mostly new tenants already have security defaults enabled by default, but you should verify this for every tenant using Microsoft Entra ID free license. As mentioned, security defaults enforce MFA for all users, block legacy authentication, and apply baseline security policies without extra configurations. What if your tenant has a Microsoft Entra ID P1 or P2 license? Then do not enable security defaults if your tenant has a P1 or P2 license. Instead, you should disable security default first and implement conditional access policies to enforce security controls more granularly. Security defaults and conditional access policies should not coexist in a tenant with P1 or P2 license. This is not a recommended security practice. We haven't covered conditional access policies yet, but don't worry, we will go into detail later in the course. For now, remember, for Entra ID free, enable security defaults. For Entra ID P1 and P2, disable security defaults and implement conditional access policies. Now you know exactly what to do based on your tenant's license to enhance security.